Well, hello, little cosmic owlets. I am Louise Edington. I am the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology with the Weirdly Cosmic podcast for the lunar eclipse that's coming on November the 19th, 2021. Yes, the eclipses are here. And we are entering quite a crazy time. I am going to show you a card first, and I am going to also show the chart, which I don't always do, but I'm not going to leave the chart up for the whole time. I just want to show you a few things as I move into actually talking about this energy because oh, what a winter we are heading into in the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm sorry to be so Northern Hemisphere focused, Southern Hemisphere folk. The energies will affect you, of course, but these energies in the Northern Hemisphere are really affecting the USA, particularly because we're heading into our Pluto return, and I live in the Northern Hemisphere. But in honor of the Scorpio new moon, which was yesterday, I'm wearing my Underestimate Me, That'll Be Fun shirt because I don't know about you, it was a huge new moon and I feel a little bit ripped open and very fragile emotionally, but a little bit better than yesterday, shall we say. Although none of it's bad. I think it's all got to be processed and got to be faced, and it's an important part of evolutionary growth, dealing with grief and being emotionally tender. And I think the whole period we're entering into is going to be a very emotional, turbulent period. So let's look let's move on to look at things. But before I do, let's subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on any of the podcast providers, please maybe go leave me a review on iTunes. That would be really helpful. If you're watching on YouTube, give me a subscribe, click that bell for when I upload new videos. If you enjoy it, leave me a comment. I love to hear from you, and let's get into it. Okay, so the card I pulled, I had to laugh because Venus moved into Capricorn this morning, and we're heading into a very earthy period, so I'll talk about all of that. But I picked the Devil card, which is the Capricorn card, and in the Thoth or Thoth Tarot, this is a wonderful picture of Pan the goat with a jaunty head and this kind of jaunty wreath on his horns. This is the principle of mirth and or humour at what bedevils us. Okay, and it's a great attitude to take into this period that we're moving into. So I want to read you a little bit about this card from my favourite book about the Thoth Tarot. It's by Angeles Arian, and she starts with a quote for every card. The difference between a comedy and a tragedy is that in a comedy, the characters figure out reality in time to do something about it. And that's by Bennett W. Goodspeed, whoever that person was. A lovely quote. Now, this, as I said, represents the universal principle of mirth combined with stability, though. If you see, the goat is very solid on his feet. All right. This is the only card in the entire tarot deck which has undergone a transformation within itself. During Greek mythology, this symbol was Pan, half man and half goat, the god of merriment and sensuality. In Egyptian mythology, this symbol was Ra, the sun deity, a symbol of life force and energy. During the Middle Ages, there was a backlash to the panistic cults, and the archetype of the devil was created. The panistic goat was changed into the devil, and ironically, devil, spelled backwards, is lived. During the Middle Ages, the panistic activities of people living it up were considered hedonistic. Therefore, in order to quell those activities, they had to be rendered evil or made wrong in order to make way for that new belief systems that were emerging at the time. So this represents the need to face whatever we might consider our bedevilments or problems, with the tenacity of Capricorn the goat, or with the humour like Pan or Bacchus from Greek mythology. We can face and move through our bedevilments, which are the webbings on the side of the cards, with sure-footedness like Capricorn the goat, and with the mirth and humour of Pan. This symbol reminds us that if we take our problems or bedevilments too seriously, they can ensnare us and take us off balance. Okay. The devil Pan symbol represents the need to hold on to both the qualities of mirth, stability, and our centeredness in facing real or imagined problems, the webbings or spider-like veils, so that we won't be thrown off balance. That's all I'm going to read. You get the idea. Look at him. He's like going, oh, jaunty, and let's face all this with determination. He's like staring straight in the face. And I love that tower behind him going upwards with Saturn at the top, the double ring planet. Okay. It's kind of a card of mastery. It's about mastering, facing any kind of hardships or troubling times, and we are entering into some troubling times, but we're going to be okay. I want you to know that, all right? So to the full moon eclipse itself. This is a partial lunar eclipse, which means that it's actually an eclipse is always conjunct the lunar nodes. That's what makes it an eclipse, okay? Which means it's close to the ecliptic, and this is a partial one, which means the nodes and the moon and the sun are quite far apart. So let's look at the chart quickly before we dive in, and I've made some annotations on it. So here you can see that the moon is at 27 degrees of Taurus, and the moon 27 degrees 14 minutes, and the moon is conjunct Sedna. So I'll be talking about all of that. But Alan Clay, who's done a lot of work on Sedna, particularly dwarf planet astrology, says that Sedna is spiritual destiny through crisis. And now Sedna has an 11,400 year cycle, which takes it back to the major ice ages. So she is probably really connected with big times of climate change. Takes us back towards the end of the ice ages. Okay. So that's a big start. All right. The moon being conjunct this major energy of 28 degrees Sedna. Incidentally, Hal Mayer is over here somewhere. I didn't add her to the chart, but she's kind of less, there's a reason for that. I think that she is less connected. So we won't even talk about Hal Mayer right now. So anyway, the moon is conjunct Sedna. So that makes it kind of a spiritual destiny eclipse already, in my opinion. Now, a lunar eclipse or a full moon eclipse is always a moon-sun opposition. So we have the sun still in Scorpio over here at 27 degrees. And it's conjunct Mercury at 21 degrees. Mercury, the messenger, communication, news, all that kind of jazz. All right. So already we can see it's quite a strong opposition. Now, before I look at some of these other figures that I consider to be aspecting this full moon eclipse, I do want to mention that this is the second of 6 full moons at 27 degrees. We had the first one last month in Aries. We've got this eclipse in Taurus. Then we're going to have a third in Gemini, a fourth in Cancer, a fifth in Leo, and a sixth over here in Virgo, finishing this 6 full moons at 27 degrees. So when I talk about the numbers, I'm going to kind of look at little different bits of the numbers every month, because 27 has a big message for us through this winter. And incidentally, the 5 new moons in between those full moons, starting with the new moon, the Scorpio new moon that was yesterday as I record this on November the 5th, we have 5 at 12 degrees. Okay, so we've got 5 12s and 6 27s. And of course, 12 is a 3, 27 is a 9, and there's also a lot of 6s. And I talked a little bit about the 369 code last time. Now, please don't get into any big airy-fairy stuff about the 369 code. Tesla was the one who said if we understood the 369 code, we'd understand how the universe works, basically. And he was a scientist. And there is a lot about the circle and the zodiac being 360 degrees, and you divide it up and there's a lot of 9s there and things. There's a lot there about understanding how the universe works with the 369 code. So I just think with all these 3, 6 and 9s coming in, we're kind of being given this opportunity to really start to understand the cycles more. All right. I'm not saying we're going to get it. Who knows? If Tesla couldn't get it, I don't know if I'm going to, but it's there. So anyway, yes, the second of 6 full moons at 27 degrees, and it happens to be an eclipse. The reason it's a partial eclipse, as I said, is it's actually 26 degrees. Oh, no, not 26, less than that. It's actually only, it's quite close to but they're out of sign. The North Node is 5 degrees, nearly 6 degrees away from the moon. So it's not, but it's pretty close. So it's still a big eclipse, all right? So yeah, the moon is at 27 degrees Taurus on the eclipse. Now look at these other things I have highlighted. I'm going to start around here actually. We actually have Pluto still at 24 degrees of Capricorn, and that's in sextile to the sun and in Earth trine to the moon, and it is in the sign of Capricorn. So Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, and so we've been dealing with this bedevilment since 2008, with all the upheaval that Pluto has been causing in the structures that we live under, which are very much about Capricorn. Okay, and that's all the structures of our lives. All right. Then also at 24 degrees, we have Jupiter in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Aquarius is almost exactly square to this full moon. So this is the biggest aspect, to be quite honest, because it's a square, and a square is kind of challenging, facing off to each other, and this makes a T-square from Taurus to Scorpio to Aquarius. And so this is really kind of in fixed signs, is again more kind of earthquakey material. Now, Taurus, to my mind, is the most earthy of signs. It's our nature, it's our physical bodies, it's our real physical humanity, it's everything, the senses that we can see, touch, feel, smell, all those senses are highlighted in Taurus. So I'll come back to some of that as well. So this is a massive square, all right. And Jupiter in Aquarius is kind of looking for big new ideas to move to the future in Aquarius. Okay, and then I'll talk more about it in a minute. Then I've kind of highlighted Neptune as well, because Neptune is still within 7 degrees of the moon and sun, and is sextile to the moon. So I'm going to say that outer planet is involved as well. And the three of those kind of make this lovely kind of bowl pattern with Jupiter at the bottom. And Anyway, then we have Eris, the discordant one, the disruptor, back at 23 degrees, where she spent a lot of last year and the year before. And she's in semi-sextile to the moon and quincunx the sun. She's causing disruption again. I'm going to say she is definitely involved. And she and Pluto are still connected to that final square of theirs after their 5 exact squares that began in January of 2020. So that's kind of huge too. They're still within a degree. They've still not moved that far apart. They will eventually, but Eris is still there, ripping off picket fences. So let me stop the share and just talk to you, because I don't want you to get too tied up in the chart. What does this all mean? Well, as I said, the moon is in the sign of Taurus, and this sign, Taurus, is Venus ruled. And on this chart, Venus is just entered the shadow of her retrograde in Capricorn. She turns retrograde just a month exactly after this eclipse. Okay, she's getting ready already in her shadow. She moved into the sign of Capricorn this very morning on November the 5th. As I record this, she's going to be in Capricorn till March the 5th, 4 long months, harking back to the years 2013, the end of 2013, the end of 2005, the end of 1997. You can go back other 8-year periods, which is the Venus cycle, but go look back at those 3, see what changed in your life then. Things will never be the same, but it kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of the power of this retrograde that we're entering into. But for those of us in the USA particularly, and France, and there's a few other countries that went through some pretty revolutionary periods in that time, I do want to tell you that this exact Venus retrograde that's coming up, with the seeing as she's the ruler of of the eclipse, which is, by the way, the first eclipse in Taurus Scorpio before the nodes move into Taurus and Scorpio for a year and a half from January. So we're moving into a very Taurus Scorpio period. So Venus is very important, as she's going to rule the North Node as well. The Venus cycle, which I am now certified to kind of teach in and talk about more, because I certified with Ariel Gutman's Star Point work, has a kind of a strict 250-year repeating cycle as a greater cycle. And Venus retrograde in Capricorn was at exactly the same degrees and points, starting a new kind of Venus cycle as well, which will be a Venus Libra a Capricorn Libra cycle. Too much to explain, but that was at the end of 1770. We're getting exact repeating patterns from 1770. Now, I am kind of going to do a USA Pluto return video that will talk more about this as well, because the USA Pluto return is coinciding with this 250-year Venus cycle return. And of course, there's going to be differences. There's different energies involved, different aspects. But you can't make this stuff up. We are in this revolutionary time, if we had not gathered that. No revolutions are the same. We can still hope for a peaceful revolution, right? Okay, so long as you know we can. So, yeah, as I was saying, Venus ruled this. So, yeah, we look at that. And it's also important for that because I mentioned that Pluto is aspecting this full moon. And Venus will station retrograde, conjunct Pluto, and square to Eris. All right, she will form 3 aspects with both those planets. So all that to say that this full moon eclipse, and eclipses can literally eclipse things, but their energies play out over the following months after an eclipse. They don't always happen on a day, though things can. Is going to bring some very eclipsing times and tumultuous times. Now the Taurus Scorpio axis is about our deepest values and our deepest bonded relationships in Scorpio and our shared values. It's also about finances and money. There could be some major transformations in the financial world and in people's monetary circumstances. And again, it doesn't all have to be bad. You know, some people go up, some people go down. I don't believe in living in a state of complete fear about these things, because who knows, maybe it'll be a good balancing. Because if you think about that shape of the chart, with Jupiter squaring exactly in Aquarius, and in fact I might look at the symbols for Jupiter as well on this one, because Jupiter in Aquarius is expanding our vision, our hopes and dreams. So, and he's covering old ground. He'd been here before and he went retrograde, and he's kind of at the apex of this square, the turning point. Anything squaring, anything is a kind of a pivot point, especially when it's an eclipse. He's not squaring the nodes, but he is squaring that full moon. I'm going to say that Jupiter in Aquarius is quite the pivot point for a period that we're moving into. I want to share one quick, the chart again really quickly to point out one thing, that Mars is now just 18 degrees from the south node, and then we're heading into that time of the black snake that I talked about this last time. So we're definitely heading into a time of alchemical transformation, as I keep calling it. I can't really think of another way to describe it. I keep talking about how everything's kind of being thrown into this pot. All these outer planets are being thrown into the pot. Neptune in Pisces, which is our spirituality, but also our delusion and illusions, and is involved. Sedna's involved, spiritual destiny through crisis. Jupiter is involved in Aquarius, expanding big hopes, wishes and dreams. Pluto's involved, Pluto in Capricorn, digging up the crap that's not working. Eris is connected to it, pulling off that artifice of our society. It's going to be a really interesting time, especially because it's generally considered that eclipse energies kind of play out over about 6 months. And then, of course, the new moon eclipse after this full moon eclipse is going to be a total eclipse on December the 4th, but I'll talk more about that next time. So I want to get to the numbers. I want to talk more about this 27 a little bit. So this time I talked about last time the 27 being considered this real number of extreme compassion, inner wisdom. It's the number of the Bodhisattva. It's the number of the universal spiritual laws. That's the 9, and then the 9 and 27 together is really about this heightened sense of universal love and service and compassion and understanding through humanitarian principles. All right, it's often connected as well with psychic or clairvoyant insight, but it's success on the material plane. Okay, it is not just about it's not just about being airy-fairy and ascending out there. This is about coming down to earth, and which brings me back to that Taurus energy. So it 27-9 is about lifting the energies to the highest balance and perfection. It's about universal brotherhood and humanitarianism. All right. So this gives me hope. I think we are entering this really turbulent time, but the fact we've got 6 at 27 degrees, are we going to get kind of the second coming of somebody who's going to be really a more spiritual kind of leader, or will it be several leaders? I don't know. Will it be women taking the lead? I don't know. We'll see. The Venus in Capricorn retrograde could indicate that it's kind of a very divine feminine kind of leader, but that could embody in either gender. Okay. So a collection of amazing facts about number 27. I'm going to be sick of talking about 27 by the time we're done, but that's okay. So the number 27 is often referred to as the Trinity of Trinities, as 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, or 3 times 3 equals 9, and 3 times 9 is 27. So we can see the 3s, the 6s, the 9s all in there. So the planet is made up of 72% salt water and 1% fresh water, leaving 27% of the world as land. Whoa. The moon orbits the Earth once every 27.322 days. It also takes approximately 27 days for the moon to rotate once on its axis, which is why, as a result, the moon does not seem to be spinning from our perspective, because it's rotating, but it's also rotating around the Earth, so it always rotates its face to us. Okay. Synchronous rotation, apparently it's called. On average, the sun rotates on its axis once every 27 days. However, its equator spins the fastest and takes about 24 days to rotate, and the poles take more than 30 days, so that kind of averages out in the middle at 27 degrees, all right? Human cells regrow every 27 days. During this process, our old epidermis, visible skin cells, die and are replaced with new skin cells. Now I'm going to get a bit biblical here for you, because I think the Bible is an astrological text. In the Bible's book of Genesis, God creates humans in the 27th verse. All right. In the New Testament, the whole New Testament consists of 27 books: the 4 canonical Gospels, the Acts of Apostles, the 14 epistles of Paul, the 7 Catholic epistles, and the book of Revelation. There you go. Not everything's bright and shiny about 27. The 27 Club refers to the fact that many rock musicians, artists, actors and athletes have died at age 27. Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix. I think there's Amy Winehouse. There's been quite a few. Okay. Now, there's a lot more to it, I do want to mention as well, though, that Spanish and Hebrew alphabets have 27 letters each. 27 is the total number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet, 22 regular letters, and 5 final consonants, apparently. 27 is the total number of letters in the Spanish alphabet, 5 vowels and 22 consonants. The planet Uranus, I find this very interesting, has 27 moons. 5 of the moons are large and the rest are much smaller. The 5 large moons are called Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Titania and Oberon. Titania is the largest moon of Uranus and is covered with small craters. The moon is 27% the size of Earth. There you go. I am not going to give you any more other than, the Freemasons. The Egyptian Lodge 27 was established in 1811 and named in 1839. The Egyptian Lodge 27 continues to meet at Freemasons Hall, Great Queen Street, London, on the evening of every first Wednesday in April, May, October, November and December. So there you go. The Roman Empire was formed in 27 BC. I think we're reaching a little bit now. 27 is a perfect cube, being 3 times 3 times 3. According to Incan legend, there was 27 roads leading to the lost city of El Dorado. And according to Feng Shui, it's considered good luck to keep 27 identical coins in your house. And there's 27 prayer beads in a typical Buddhist mala or rosary. 108 divided by 4. So there's 4 times 27 is 108 as well. And we know 108 is a magical number. Saturn reassumes the same position every 27 years. The Saturn return. It's actually between 27 and 29 years. So that's reaching a little bit. And in Hindu astrology, there are 27 nakshatras or lunar mansions, which I do not know much about, but I know they are sectors along the ecliptic. There's lots more. I might talk about some more of these on future podcasts. I don't want to bore you, but can we see that astrologically and numerology, and in numerology, we are entering this time. By the time of the next full moon in December, Venus will turn retrograde. The day after, all the planets will be in this Kala Sarpa or draconic bowl, one side of the nodes, with the nodes being the rim, okay? Except for the moon. The moon will be out of it, and a couple of asteroids, but basically we'll be in a big, and I'll look ahead at the other ones as we go through. So the 6, of course, showed up in Jupiter being at 24 degrees, Pluto being at 24 degrees, and Ceres is at 6 degrees of Gemini. True Black Moon Lilith is at 12 degrees of Gemini, which is another 6. Uranus is at a 12 degrees still, which is a 3. So we've got lots of 3s. Venus is at 12 degrees, which is a 3. Pallas Athena is at 9 degrees. So we've got lots of 3s, 6s and 9s in this chart again. So it's kind of crazy. So numerology, I did want to look at the Chandra symbol for Jupiter, as well as for the full moon. But let's start with the full moon. So we go up always on the symbols. So we look at Taurus 28. A man making candles out of beeswax. The sweetness is in the returning to those sacred places always known, and now being at ease there. The natural man strips away false layers and finds somebody underneath who is poignantly familiar and resonantly true. The search, the quest, the process, the intricate, extended process. For everything depends upon entering the process and giving yourself over to the master-craftsman-hands of the creator beings. You are simply a seed blown by the wind, and to become this completely is blissful fruition, inwardly smiled into being. Wow. Now, I must say, this whole thing is an inward process. This stripping away the layers, finding your essence, finding your deepest values. The Venus retrograde is going to take us through that. This eclipse is taking us into that. Eclipse is a full moon, is a release and a shedding anyway, and this is an eclipse, so we can literally eclipse. We are really being stripping away these false layers. Eris is pulling off any artifice. Pluto is excavating any shit that you're left with, and Jupiter is saying, you know, create these hopes and wishes really based on your true essence. Now, I do hope that some of you will join me on my Venus retrograde journey class, Heroine's Journey class, starting December the 14th, because it's taking us through this whole period in very deep ways. Okay. So the Sabian symbol for Taurus 28 is a woman past her change of life, experiences a new love. Now, I was a bit like, but women are the only ones that kind of go through the menopause. So and we can change very much, and we are moving into a time of the rising of the divine feminine. So it feels very fitting for me as the divine feminine is taking her place side by side with the divine masculine. We've been living the hero's journey for many, many years, centuries, and now it's time to also live the heroine's journey side by side together. So, and the keynote for this from Rudyard is the human's capacity to rise in consciousness and feelings above biological limitations. And he said, I'm not going to read all the words, okay, because he seems to have a bit of a problem that it's about women, really. But anyway, he says it's about the possibility of new re-beginnings. And I apologize for my husband slamming doors while I'm recording the podcast. He talks about a more mature response to the new possibility of experience. So now I actually want to look at the symbols for Jupiter in Aquarius. So we go to 25 Aquarius, and they say the Chandra symbol is quite simply a mustache. Disciplined, constrained and consistent, keeping things within the boundaries set by rational cognition, doing what is strictly appropriate, objectively, impersonally, dispassionately, deciding and choosing and following this up with a way of life. Circumspect, intensely aware of reputation and community standing. You live up to the highest standards impeccably and are self-suppressive routinely. Everything has been decided ahead of time. Obedience to the greater instructions, subordinated to what shall serve and what shall reach far and wide. Able to tailor and custom fit your behaviour and expression so that the greater good is served absolutely. You manifest pure adherence to the law with no qualms, no quibbles, no questions. I think I'm going to just leave you to take your own meaning from that one. In these contentious times, I think I know what I think it means for me. I think we have to think of the greater good, and we're stripping ourselves down to our purest values, so that we can just get back to basics and come together to live for the good of the greater good of the collective, in many ways. So 25 Aquarius. So I do have to say there could be some financial kind of shifts and changes with all of this. I'm not going to say which way they'll go though, because could go up for some, down for others. So the Sabian symbol for the Jupiter placement, 26 Aquarius, is a garage person testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. The keynote is skill in applying knowledge of natural laws to the solution of everyday problems resulting from life in our technological society. and it's about mental efficiency. So think about that when you're thinking about your hopes and wishes as this full moon squares Jupiter in Aquarius. So for now, thank you for listening. As always, I'm really starting to get in my stride doing this podcast on my own. I hope you're enjoying it. I do plan on doing a lot more videos. I'm going to do a USA Pluto return video. I'm going to do some other videos. I do have a free call that I'm offering on November the 16th. So it's before this eclipse, but if you listen to this ahead of time, it's a preview call of the Venus retrograde. The recording will be available at the link, the registration link. So if you're listening afterwards and going, oh, I missed it, or you can't attend live anyway, register anyway, and you can hear the free call. I will be talking about my Venus retrograde heroine's journey class, of course, on the call as well. And that begins on December the 14th. There's a sign up to register also below in the description. It's a course I've been running since 2017. It's my signature course, and this one is going to go so deep. And it's not just an astrology class, it's a shamanic healing class as well. It is a true heroine's journey deep within to descend and ascend, transformed and healed. So I hope you'll consider joining me on that. There's a 2-pay option that goes away on November the 14th because I would like the class paid in full before the first call. So if you want to sign up now, there is a 2-pay option as well. So from me, happy eclipse season. We're going to be okay. It's going to be intense, an intense 6 months, well, 5 months now. Whoa. But keep following this, and my dog's sneezing. So happy eclipse. I love you guys. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.